Welcome to the MPG Podcast, where your host, John Graybeal, talks racing, driving, training, and cars with Newman Watts racing driver Jordan Missig. And now, here's John and Jordan.
Well, it is April 20th. Welcome to the MPG Podcast. I'm John Graybeal, joined with Newman Watts racing driver Jordan Missig. I am today in Nashville, Tennessee.
Music City.
Yeah, Music City. It's quiet here, as you can imagine, but they're getting ready to open up, I think, not Nashville, but most of the counties are open up in Tennessee tomorrow, I think.
Really?
Pretty quickly, yeah. And you are in...
Still in Northport, Florida.
Florida.
The only thing they've opened up here so far has been one beach out in Jacksonville, Florida. So one beach has been opened up there, and apparently a lot of people were there. So I don't know if they thought about reconsidering their decision of opening up the beach or planning on opening up the rest of the beaches here in Florida. But one beach has been confirmed to be open out in Florida. So sounds like we're starting to get back into the normality life.
Yeah, I can't wait. So, well, what have you been doing with your time? So you've been working in schoolwork,
yep.
I guess, right?
Working online classes and everything. Been doing all my schoolwork over online Canvas, doing a bunch of papers, doing a bunch of different assignments. Had to take a test last week over online, so that was pretty interesting.
Was that the first one you took online?
Yeah, for my first major exam online. So
did they have their own system? How'd they do that?
It's all like you can either do multiple choice, short answer, whatever they want you to do. But it's all obviously multiple choice. There's a right or wrong answer like a normal test is. It's all timed too, so it's not like you have a certain amount of time to finish it, just like you would in a normal school class.
Yeah, my kids are doing homeschooling. It's not. Nobody's happy about it. Let's just say that.
Nobody's happy about it either. I mean, we come to find out the first 2 weeks of doing this online stuff, it was such a pain in the butt to deal with. I mean, everybody was so stressed, even including myself. I'm speaking on behalf of myself as well. Everyone's so stressed because we're developing a new system here. We're trying something new, and all the professors are still teaching like we're still in an actual classroom, still attending actual school. Well, we don't have all the materials. We don't have the luxury to be able to do what we normally do. So we have to change things up a little bit. We have to change our own habits. And kind of most of us we're feeling overwhelmed because a bunch of assignments were being poured in on us at once. And, we are limited on materials on what we can do. So, it's kind of telling our professors just saying, stop, take a step back, because we can only do so much during this time. And we only have a limited resource to work with.
Right. And yeah, I'm sure that professors and teachers aren't as accessible.
It took them a while. I'd say probably a full month. I think once we got into April, it really started to click, and I think everyone was kind of starting to get on the same page and how the system was going to work out. And plus, this is about the exact same time when each governor from each state was kind of saying, we're going to be like this for the rest of the year. So I think every professor was starting to plan that this is what's going to be like for the rest of the year. It's not just going to be, a couple weeks. It's going to be like this for quite a while, so we had to adapt to it. So in the end, I think it's all worked out, but the productivity level, I should say, and the, the motivation to want to be able to do it and get it done has significantly dropped, I will say that, especially when you get closer towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I can understand that. So any racing developments other than simulator races? Do we have anything new out there for you, or just kind of holding steady right now?
Not real life any scenarios lately. We're hoping, keeping fingers crossed, that the stay-at-home order that our governor here in Illinois tends to go away with it. I mean, hopefully, obviously, I wish everything is safe to go before we open it up, but hopefully we're safe enough in the state of Illinois to where we can open the state a little bit so we can go on the track and go to Audubon and have Audubon open up, so we're able to go on track and test a little bit here and there. But, it's all depending on the governor's decision here in the next week or two, now that we're probably, 2 weeks away from the beginning of May. So hopefully we're keeping our fingers crossed that he makes the right decision on that. But I will say, last weekend was a pretty tough one as well. It kind of tells you that realization has kicked in of the staying home order, because 2 weeks prior to that was supposed to be the first race of the season for FRAmericas at Road Atlanta. And then this past weekend was supposed to be Audubon's first weekend of racing, with Spec Miata's race, GT Racing on Saturday, and Radicals were supposed to race on Sunday. So that really hit home when we were supposed to have our first race weekend and we weren't able to have it.
Yeah, that was kind of a bummer. But and I know that that would have been my first race, my son's first race, real race in the on the big track, and so yeah, we'll just keep plugging away, trying to stay motivated as much as we can. From our end, it's we're just trying to keep our work on cars and talk to people and try to socialize at a distance as much as we can to try to really stay involved. So you did have a couple races last week.
Yes.
A couple organized sim races, as we continue to talk about sim racing for until we get the actual cars on the track. So Tuesday was the FRAmericas.
Yes, Tuesday was FRAmericas at Barber Motorsports Park. It was a I would say, pretty interesting race, I will say, for the most part. Practice went pretty well. We only got maybe 5 laps in due to it only being 10 minutes long. Qualifying was a mess, as always. Everybody was basically racing and qualifying. I've got about 3 good laps that I could have ran. One guy pushed me wide on the final corner. The other guy also tried to dive bomb me going into turn 5 and took me out. And another guy wanted to go side by side through a corner and messed up my lap. And some guys were brake checking in corners they shouldn't be. So everybody wanted to be racing and qualifying, making some moves just to get their own lap and everything. Because we had 45 cars on such a small track and everything.
Wow.
It's just, it doesn't work out. I mean, everyone's fighting for position, and it's hard. It's hard to get position. So we ended up having to start in the back again. Very interesting first lap. Probably about 20 cars got piled up in the first lap. 3 separate wrecks. I'd say 12 to 15 were in the first corner, and I was able to tiptoe my way and pass them all. Another wreck over in turn 3, and then another wreck in turn 5. So I was able to make it through the first lap all safe and sound. Clearly managed to get up. Started, I think, 38th started, and I was able to get up to the 21st position at the end of the first lap. And
Holy cow.
Yeah, and then we went side by side into turn 1, and I got in contact with another driver going into 1. So, but it wasn't bad. We ended up just spinning out. We were able to kind of get going. I was able to set my car up and about to start rolling again. As soon as I started rolling, I looked to my right of one of my monitors, and I saw a car come flying through because I knew he was going at full speed. So I decided to stop, let him go. I guess he thought I was going to continue to roll, because as soon as I saw him come through the corner, he immediately darted right towards my car and ended up hitting me and flipping me over 3 times in the air.
Oh my gosh.
So I was just kind of sitting there like a sitting duck, giving him the racing line, and I guess he thought I was going to move into the racing line because he decided to move over right towards me and hit me. So had to use a reset, and sat in the pits for about maybe 2.5 minutes. So went 2 laps down and got back going, and I ended up finishing 23rd, I think.
So the Hard Charger Award, that was probably quite a bit for that, right?
Yeah, the guy who got it, actually, his last name was Lee. I think it was Johanna Lee or something like that, or Jonathan Lee maybe. Started 31st and ended up finishing 11th. So
it was a big move.
He had a big move, yeah. But as far as I know, I think I'm still in the lead for the Hard Charger Award, for the Seibelt Hard Charger Award. So hopefully I'm able to keep that and continue that to go. But yeah, that's how that race went. And next race we're at is the super fast Canadian Tire Motorsports Park up in Canada.
And that's tomorrow.
Yes, that is tomorrow.
The 21st. Broadcast on, you can see your live stream on Facebook.
Yes, on my Facebook channel, on Jordan Missig Racing Facebook.
And the race can be seen live on
FRAmericas Facebook page, as well as FRAmericas on YouTube, and their Twitch channel. They will be broadcasting on there.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, and Twitch is a format that gamers like to use.
It's a live streaming app. It's a live streaming, most people use that app to, live stream their video games or whatever it could be, their point of views or other broadcasts that are associated with it.
Yeah, and I noticed that I came in, I was working late that day out in my barn, and I came in and I noticed if you'd missed the race live, it takes a little bit for FRAmericas to put it up on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, but you can, they do live stream it, but then after the race, maybe like an hour or two afterwards, you could go back and watch the race on their YouTube channel. So all the races are archived on FRAmericas YouTube channel if you have missed the entire season already.
Yeah, so I missed the race and I didn't talk to you and didn't hear anything about it. So I watched the race this weekend to get caught up. And it's just the whole sim racing is just interesting. And the guy's talking about the weather. He's talking about the how the temperature, what's going to happen, and which is all true, right? Because they bring all those elements into the real racing aspect of it. They can make the track wet. They can make it overcast. They can make it sunny, shadowy. Sun position. I mean, it's incredible, right?
It is, yes, and all those factors come into play, but those are very minor factors compared to driver skill, what everybody else has to deal with. Everybody kind of applause for all those small factors and variables that are put in, but really what I like to call it as for sim racing, I'll take a copyright out of Formula One's book. It's the drive to survive race, I call it. You drive it and you have to survive in order to do well, because if you don't survive, you're most likely in the back.
Right. And so that was Tuesday. Wednesday, we had the Audubon Country Club iRacing League race.
Now, this was a very interesting race, and it started off very interesting right from the get-go.
So it was it was Cayman's.
Yes, it was the Porsche 718, I think, GT4 cars.
At Road America, right?
Yes, Road America. Now, these cars are just like, I think, these guys are cars that are raced as the Grand Sports Series in IMSA. So it's the lower level of IMSA racing. So it's not with the WeatherTech Series. I believe these cars are raced in the Pilot Challenge Series. So these cars are kind of like your typical gentleman driver car, I will say. Heavy machines. They don't like to be thrown around a lot. They like smooth, steady steering inputs. And these cars have ABS on them, so anti-lock brakes. So you could basically just smash the brake pedal as hard as you want, and eventually the car will slow down for you. It's not as fast, it doesn't slow down as fast as you'd like it to, but it does eventually slow down. But so these cars are a lot of fun to drive around Road America. They are very high speed, I will say that.
Okay, cool. And so you qualified pretty well.
Yeah, I qualified in the 4th position. A funny story here. I was just getting off of class. So my situation is I have class from 6 o'clock to 8:30 Central Time, Illinois time. And these races generally start around 7:30 is when the room opens up. You have qualifying at 8:20, and then the race starts at 8:30. Well, I'm getting out of class at that time, so I was literally in the middle of class. My teacher was just wrapping up, and I said, all right, well, you taught your lesson. You said enough. I basically just hung up on my professor in the middle of class, jumped into the sim, got maybe a half a lap of practice, and then went out straight to qualified and got 4th on the grid.
Yeah, not too bad.
And
it went pretty well.
I will say.
Yeah, my son was racing with you. He was in the back, and if I could just get him to slow down.
Yeah.
Just get him to slow down.
He likes to go a little too quick on the starts, or?
On every straightaway. He just does.
Yeah.
And I go, you might want to slow down. So, anyway, you ended up as a 30-minute race. Is that what it was?
30-minute race, yes. I ended up starting P4, and I was up to the 2nd spot by the end of the 1st lap. And was chasing around Alex Bertignoli, who's Alan Bertignoli's son. He races Alan down at the kart track.
Yeah, so he runs the general manager of the kart track there at the Audubon Country Club.
Yes, his son, Alex, races go-karts. He races for like one of those professional teams, so he's a factory driver for one of the go-karting teams. And then I was racing around with him. He was pretty quick, I will say. He was really quick around Road America. And then I was probably keeping pace with 3rd place behind me, who was Brandon Collins, who is a 2-time Miata champion. So nothing that got some skill competition around me, I would say.
Yeah. So you ended up 2nd in the
second in the race. It was a very cluster start, I will say. Kind of got a little bit of a disorganized once we got towards the line. everybody was kind of on their own agenda, it seemed like. Nobody was kind of coordinated once we got to the start. Once we got to the first lap, I'd say it was kind of smooth sailing from there. We ended up going into the first turn. It was me and Brandon Collins were side by side. I went to the inside, all the way to the inside, Brandon Collins on the outside. And then coming up from behind, I think it was Adam Lavelle, who was, I think, a new member at the Audubon, decided to throw it up the middle, 3 wide on us going into turn 5, and he surprisingly made it stick. He made it stick, and Brandon backed out, and me and him went side by side through 5 and came out side by side. So that was probably the most hair-raising moment of the race, but it was definitely cool to see. I ended up going back at the end of the race, checking it out a couple times. Which is
a neat, interesting element of iRacing. So you can replay your race, you can replay different cameras of different cars.
Yep.
And you can replay your car from inside your view, from outside, different cameras. I mean, what you can do is, I mean, I only know the tip of the iceberg. I know you can do it. I've tried to do it, and it's challenging for an old guy. But it is interesting, the power of it.
Yes, so I'll give a little bit of my tips of what I do for the FRAmericas races, because generally I'm not really the fastest. I race on sims a lot, but I don't put forth the effort or so much time into actually racing on them. I'm a person who gets on the sim, wants to learn the track, learn where all the braking points are at. I don't generally like to race as much on the sim, only because I feel like it kind of ruins my habit and it brings in bad racing habits. So when I do jump in the car, and Antoine Comu, who's also been a radical racer, raced with me last year with Turn 3 Motorsports, and me and him have been two of the fastest guys at Audubon in the Radical Series. He's tend to jump on the sim, do a bunch of sim laps, and kind of get used to the sim aspect of it all. And he's pretty quick on the sim as well, probably the same pace as me. And then he sometimes gets really quick, and then he jumps in the real car and then finds out that he's doing what he's trying to do on the sim, and he's either spinning out, crashing in the real car, or causing a lot of bad habits in the real car. So whatever you try to translate to the sim, it's very interesting because it doesn't really translate very well into the real car. I've seen a lot of guys who, even in the NASCAR series, the eNASCAR series that's going on right now, a lot of guys who you generally see up front in the real-life NASCAR races are generally towards the back in the iRacing races, while some of the guys who run up front in iRacing are generally not up towards the front in real life. So it's a weird mixture that you see when it comes to that.
Yeah, there's definitely definitely good and bad points about sim racing, and we're seeing that as we're all with these stay-at-home orders, and this is the best outlet that we have. But I find this very interesting and enjoyable. I mean, I have to say that the sim racing is enjoyable. I particularly like getting on and hearing your voice and all the other guys' voices that from afar, so that we can all race around the track. I mean, I really enjoy that social aspect of it. So it's working for me right now, and I've enjoyed it. So
it's good camaraderie. It kind of takes place for what we would be doing at the racetrack right now. So it kind of makes us feel like we're there when we're actually not, but we all know we'd actually like to be there, though. I will point out, though, one aspect, and maybe your son can pick up on this a little bit as well, and any other people who are racing iRacing. Whenever I'm in a session, I do this for FRAmericas a little bit. It's a little tip that I do, is whenever I put a lap down, I could be saying, I'll put a lap down, which I think is my fastest, and then some guy comes in and he's running 3 or 4 tenths quicker than me, or even a second. I will generally back out and then go an onboard lap of his lap and see what gear he's in, what braking markers that he's going into, and what his throttle inputs are like, and how he's taking each corner. And then I try to go out and replicate the same thing or understand how he's able to do that.
I did not know. That's a very good tip. I did not know about that. I did not know.
So you could try to study his line, and that's the thing about iRacing is because compared to real life is that it's like comparing his data without him knowing, because in real life you really can't pull someone's data. It's very hard to, because most either people have security locks on them or they're not Wi-Fi connected. You have to physically go to the car and connect through a USB cable or whatever kind of input. But in iRacing, you're not looking at the data, but you're looking at the live not telemetry, but live feed of what his car is actually doing.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
So that's one thing I've learned with iracing that I've tried to take in that part.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being on the show. We will catch up with you next week. Best of luck in a couple races this week. Hopefully you can get out of class and get to the race on Wednesday again. And we'll talk to you then.
All right, John. Thank you. Stay safe out there.
Thank you.